Hi, my name is Marina Dütsch. I'm from the University of Vienna and I would like to present FLEXWEB, a web interface for the flexible particle dispersion model FLEXPART, which I developed together with Blaschek and Stohl, also from the University of Vienna. So first, what is FLEXPART? FLEXPART is a Lagrangian particle dispersion model that simulates the transport of gases and aerosols in the atmosphere, and it has various applications. For example, it can be used for air pollution or aerosol transport modeling, for emergency preparedness, for example in the case of nuclear accidents, for studying atmospheric heat or moisture transport, or for inverse modeling of greenhouse gases. And usually if you want to run FLEXPART, there are several steps involved. First, you need to download and install the necessary libraries like EC codes or NetCDF. Then of course you have to download and install FLEXPART itself. Next, you need the meteorological input data because FLEXPART relies on this data to calculate the transport of its computational particles. So these data can be, for example, ERA5, and you have to pre-process them so that FLEXPART can read them. Then you have to set up the simulation with the different input files, and finally you have to submit the simulation to a high-performance computer if you have one available. You can also run it on your laptop, but then you need some patience. Or an alternative is you can just ask someone else to do the simulation for you. And this is the idea of FLEXWEB. So FLEXWEB would then be this someone else. And the way FLEXWEB is designed is shown here. So it consists of a front end and a back end. The front end communicates with the users, and the users can define their setup via the front end. Then the front end sends this setup to the back end, which does the computing, so it runs the FLEXPART simulation, and once the simulation is done, it plots the results and sends the results back to the front end, which then displays the results. And this is done in a way so that multiple users can run simulations at the same time. So now I want to show you what this actually looks like in practice. So if you go to the FLEXWEB website, you see this page, and you can then click on this button to start the simulation. So first you have to define your experiment, whether you want to do a forward or backward simulation, and from when to when the simulation should run, which output heights you want to save, and when you want to release your particles and for how long, how many particles you want to release, and what type of particles you want to release. Here I'm just choosing an air tracer. You could also have an aerosol, for example. And then where you want to release your particles and where you want your output to be saved. So the blue rectangle is the output grid. And I'm choosing now a release point in Nairobi, so from the airport. Then you can submit your simulation, and you will see this runtime log, which is now accelerated a little bit. So now the FLEXPART simulation is running, and when the FLEXPART simulation is finished, then it will plot the results. So now it's plotting, and when the plot is also finished, we will see this landing page, this results page, where the results are shown. Now we see the release point in the black cross, and we can see where the air parcels go when we go forward in time. This is now the integrated values. We can go to different altitudes. So these were our output heights that we specified in the beginning. And we can also choose a different plot type, for example, the plume, which shows the location of the air parcels at the specific time. So not integrated in time. Instead of using the slider, we can also navigate with the arrows, so forward or backward in time, and also up or down in altitude. And then we also have another plot type, which is the contour plot type, which shows where most of the particles were at which time step. You can also download all the outputs, so you can download the FLEXPART output in NetCDF, auxiliary data, the simulation log, and the summary of the simulation. And we also provide a link to remote data in SAR format, which you can then use directly in the Jupyter Notebook, for example. So now it's your turn to try FLEXWEB. You can follow this QR code, which will bring you to the website. And we are, of course, very curious to hear more about your specific applications. So if you have any wishes for improvement for FLEXWEB, then feel free to email either me or Blaschek. Our email addresses are here on this slide. Thanks.